We're going to turn to what we learned from Friday's release of the Mar-a-Lago affidavit. The affidavit revealed that there were 184 classified documents in 15 boxes that were recovered in January. Those documents included 67 that were marked confidential, 92 that were marked secret, and 25 marked top secret. The heavily redacted affidavit also revealed that the Justice Department feared there was, quote, probable cause to believe that evidence of obstruction will be found in this month's search. So joining me now is a member of the January 6th committee. It's Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger of Illinois. Congressman, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
Let me start with the affidavit with you. It seems as if Justice wanted to charge the former president with a crime, doesn't it appear they already have enough evidence just simply on the mishandling of these classified documents?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm no expert in, what it takes to indict somebody. I'm a pilot. That's about it. But knowing what I know, I look at this and I go, my goodness. I mean, Chuck, if any of us in the House of Representatives, who by our election we have, in essence, the highest level of security clearance, if any of us walked out intentionally with even one document from the SCIF, which is where we can go see classified documents at, and our organization came to us, the House came to us and said, you got to give this document back, and we refused to do it for years, we'd be in real trouble. Not just one document in this case. We know of 180 plus then what was gotten after this search. I mean, the hypocrisy of folks in my party that spent years chanting lock her up about Hillary Clinton because of some deleted emails or quote unquote wiping a server are now out there defending a man who very clearly did not take the national security of the United States to heart, and it'll be up to DOJ whether or not that reaches the level of indictment. But this is disgusting in my mind, and like this, no president should act this way, obviously.
Look, you're pursuing a different investigation. Whether these documents that we withheld are documents that are helpful to your investigation, how are you able to find that out? Is there going to be a broad subpoena that your committee issues to get a look at what he was hoarding at Mar-a-Lago?
Yeah, it's not an answer we have at this moment. I think we have to kind of figure out where does this fall. We're not going to get access to documents that are specifically on national security and nothing about January 6th as an example. We'll never be able to know that. But I think it's important for us to take a look at kind of the broad areas, and if it seems like there may be something that's kind of in a broad area, potentially. But again, this is stuff that, from what we understand, may even be beyond what Congress, short of being on a specific committee, would have access to.
When it comes to what Justice may be looking at, I mean, I go back to, if this were simply about him mishandling classified information and the fact that they're not pursuing that charge, is it fair to assume they're looking at something that would be even more serious than this?
That's my perception. I mean, look, mishandling classified information is one thing, and particularly if it was unintentional. If you accidentally did take something home, there may be consequences, but I think you'd look into the intentionality of that. When you have what we appear to know, just through some of what we've seen, they approached the president, the former president, with things that he had. He claimed he either didn't have them or claimed he gave them up, any of those kinds of stuff, and we know he didn't. There's intentionality there. I mean, this seems big. And when you look at some of the president's biggest kind of cheerleaders, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Jim Jordan, have gone kind of silent.
Yeah.
That tells you all you need to know, too. Look, it's like they're basically sitting here saying, we didn't start this fire, walking away, but, they obviously ignited it. They're the ones that have sat there and told this president everything he did was right, everything he could do would be okay, and they defended him at the beginning of this.
When it comes to what you guys are getting ready to lay out to the public in September, can you give us a sense of what are the missing pieces that you didn't have that you feel like the public is going to understand better come September?
Well, I think the missing piece, I think there's going to be a lot of depth that we're able to build, whether it's through these hearings or whether it's through the final report. So if you think about, for instance, the last hearing, the one Elaine, Lowery, and I did, we talked about what was the president doing during the 187 minutes. Well, we did basically an hour and a half hearing. We probably could have done one that was 4 or 5. So there'll be more depth to some of that. Some of the links. I think one of the more intriguing thing is going to be some of the financing, right? Some of the fundraising. The fact that, a vast majority of this money was raised and under quote unquote stop the steal with no intention of doing anything to stop so-called stop a steal. It was all about just raising money, and people were abused that way. And so there's going to be a lot more of that. And I think we have a lot more to find out still about this Secret Service incident. I mean, there's a whole lot of we're still sitting around like, why don't we have some of these text messages? Why was some of this stuff hidden? And I think we'll get answers to that by the time we can present that to the American people.
I want to get you to respond to something Rich Lowery wrote earlier this week in an op-ed in the New York Times. And he was talking about the January 6th committee and sort of the difficulty you may be having in proving a crime, because he writes this: Trump engaged in a political offense against our constitutional system that criminal statutes are ill-suited to address, no matter how infamous the conduct. Do you agree with that?
No, not at all. Look, I had a lot of respect for Rich Lowery. I still read him on occasion. It's been amazing to watch his pivot from kind of intellectual conservative to like this anti-Trumper. So he's against people that are against Trump. He's not necessarily for him. And so he's constantly with this, well, there may be not precedents. Of course there's not precedents. We've never had a president of the United States attempt a coup against the United States of America. So there's no precedents. And if we need a new law, let's get a new law. But I'm quite sure that some of the laws can cover this. The DOJ seems very convinced of it. And secondarily, Rich, our job is not to prosecute Trump. Our job is to present information to the American people, to talk about recommendations. Here's what I recommend, and I'm going to say this even before the report. I recommend we never again elect somebody who does not respect the Constitution of the United States, who does not respect the voters, and who abuses people by lying to them. That is Donald Trump. And people can be anti those that are against Donald Trump, but we're not against Donald Trump for any personal reasons, except we love the United States of America, and he is tearing it down daily.
I want to ask you a quick political question. This week we saw the primaries in Florida and New York, that special election in New York. I want to read you something Matthew Continetti wrote about the abortion issue in the Republican Party. He noted the Journal's op-ed page says the GOP has an abortion problem. And the problem, Republicans have no idea what to say about abortion. Do you agree essentially with that sentiment, and that this may have changed the political complexion of the midterms?
I think it's definitely changed the complexion of the midterms some. I don't know how big. Look, I've always taken the position of rape, incest, life of the mother, and certain weeks up until 15 weeks or whatever. And that was actually a fairly common thing in the Republican Party. Even Donald Trump said rape, incest, life of the mother exceptions. And now you've been seeing these Republicans go, there is absolutely no exception, because somehow in the Republican Party, the crueler you are, the more likely you are to win a primary. So Blake Masters, for instance, can erase his website all he wants and now pretend like he's some soft on this guy. Yeah. But he isn't, because he used it to win a primary. And so, yeah, I think Republicans are in real trouble because we have no leadership. This is the problem, Chuck. So Kevin McCarthy isn't leading. He's asking, what does Marjorie Taylor Greene want me to do? Mitch McConnell's just trying to save the Senate. He's probably not going to do that. We have no leaders, and no wonder our base basically believes everything Donald Trump says. I'm just curious. Liz Cheney said that in some cases she may have to help a Democrat win against sort of an anti-democracy Republican. Do you feel that's what you're going to be doing over the next couple of years yourself? Yes. Yeah. I mean, look, the biggest issue, not everybody agrees with me, certainly in my party, and even Democrats that like to say things like, well, but you're still a conservative. Yeah, I'm a conservative. But the bottom line is the biggest threat right now to our country is democracy. And if you have Republicans that are running against even left-wing Democrats that believe in democracy and believe in voting, that person should be elected over somebody who basically would overthrow the will of the people and ultimately destroy this country. This country cannot survive outside of democracy. It'll turn into a power struggle between groups of different races, of different ethnicities, of different religions, because the thing that holds us together is this belief that we can self-govern. Take that away, this country's a mess. And so Republicans that are for that have no place in office. I don't care what their policy position on taxes are.
Adam Kinzinger, Republican from Central Illinois. Congressman Kinzinger, thanks for coming on, sharing your perspective with us, sir.
You bet.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.